these just slasher ads we've been seeing here in Portland against Janelle Bynum, who is a black member of the Oregon House of Representatives, a fine woman who's done some extraordinary legislative work. She's running against a Republican, Lori Chavez DeRemer, and these ads on behalf of they're not ads on behalf of the Republicans, Republican candidates. They're ads against Janelle Bynum, literally accusing her of being somebody who supports sexual assault, somebody who lies, who's the worst kind of, just slasher ads, in black and white and all this, and I've been wondering, who's paying for these ads? Because they're not from the Republican candidate's campaign. They are instead from a group called the Congressional Leadership Fund. And I didn't know anything about the Congressional Leadership Fund until today, when I read that the Congressional Leadership Fund is the recipient of $20 million in money from oil and gas giants like Chevron and ConocoPhillips and the American Petroleum Institute to try to seize control of the House of Representatives. This particular race here in Oregon is going to be one of the races that decides whether Democrats or Republicans hold the House of Representatives. The investigative outlet Sludge, this is from Jake Johnson over on Common Dreams, reported Thursday that the fossil fuel industry has pumped a record sum this election year into a pair of super PACs dedicated to securing Republican control of the House and retaking the Senate. The Sludge noted that oil and gas giants such as Chevron and ConocoPhillips, as well as the American Petroleum Institute, donated more than $20 million total to the Congressional Leadership Fund and the Senate Leadership Fund. Quote, this is from their report, the latest wave of donations brings the fossil fuel industry's total to more than $54.2 million given to the Congressional Leadership Fund and the Senate Leadership Fund during this election cycle through September. That was last month. And we're just seeing these ads. You can't watch... I watch MSNBC in this market, and and we've got a Sling account, a Hulu account, and they're both just loaded with these ads attacking Janelle Bynum, the Democrat, just attacking her viciously. It turns out that they're being paid for in large part, or in some part, by the fossil fuel industry. Now, why would that be? Well, Donald Trump went to the fossil fuel players and said, give me $1 billion and I'll do away with Joe Biden's executive orders that are making life tough for the fossil fuel industry. According to Open Secrets, the oil and gas industry has spent over $152 million on campaigns in this cycle. They're literally trying to buy elections. And I fear that they're going to succeed. These ads against Janelle Bynum here are just awful. And she's running in a district that has elected Republicans before. So Joshua Graham Lynn, the CEO of the anti-corruption group Represent Us, said in 2010 the courts, this is of course Citizens United, the courts opened the floodgates for individuals and corporations to spend unlimited amounts of money on our elections. It's no coincidence that American politics has grown more and more polarized and divisive since then. The Washington Post, this is like a major front page story in today's Washington Post also. The headline, Trump has vowed to gut climate rules, oil lobbyists have a plan ready. So, they want to get people into office like Lori Chavez DeRemer. And here it goes. This is from Evan Halper and Josh Dawsey over on the Washington Post. An influential oil and gas industry group whose members were aggressively pursued for campaign cash by Donald Trump has drafted detailed plans for dismantling landmark Biden administration climate rules after the election. Plans are drawn up by the American Exploration and Production Council, AXPC, a group of 30 mostly independent oil and gas producers, including several major oil companies. They reveal a comprehensive industry effort to reverse climate initiatives advanced during nearly 4 years of Democratic leadership. They take particular aim at a new tax on emissions of methane. The article goes on to note the documents show the methane emissions of 9 of the 19 AXPC member companies that responded to an internal survey are increasing, in many cases, sharply. There's also a call to repeal more than a half dozen executive orders that lie at the center of the Biden administration's efforts to combat climate change. The group's group's goals amount to a monumental rollback of some of the most aggressive federal tools to cut emissions. They note the emergence of the AXPC plans follow a spring dinner at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Florida, during which the former president vowed to reverse the energy transition and call off federal regulators. Executives from ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, and 3 other AXPC companies were on the list of attendees that was provided by a Trump advisor. At the gathering, writes the Washington Post, Trump told industry executives that their best shot at a rewrite of climate policies that inhibit fossil fuel production would be to raise $1 billion to help propel him back into office. Trump has repeatedly called oil executives, the Washington Post notes, in the months after the dinner to hear their wishes and raise campaign cash, according to an executive familiar with the calls. The Trump campaign responded to a request for comment with a statement accusing Vice President Harris of being, quote, controlled by environmental extremists. The trade group's members, which also include several smaller companies, account for roughly half of the oil and gas produced in the United States. And now they are going after Janelle Bynum in a big way. It turns out it's the fossil fuel industry that wants to take her down. I mean, the ads are saying, oh, you know, she supported a politician who was accused of sexually harassing somebody else. What does that have to do with oil and gas? Nothing, but it's it's an inflammatory attack. Or, oh, she voted to decriminalize drugs in Oregon. Well, pretty much every Democrat did. And then they reversed themselves 2 years later when it turned out it didn't work. And Janelle Bynum was one of the people who reversed that. But these attacks are just insane. I mean, just unrelenting. And so, look out, she's coming to get you, essentially, is the message. This black woman, she's going to destroy Oregon. And, it turns out, surprise, surprise, it's the fossil fuel industry, in part behind these attacks on Janelle Bynum. So I know who I'm going to vote for when Louise and I fill out our ballots this weekend. Although I'm not sure I'm in her district. I don't think I am, but we're close.